Hello and welcome to the first ever Pixelated Podcast, the inaugural podcast as they call it, and I guarantee you that this inauguration will have the highest attendance of any inauguration before it. Now we've got a great first show for you today. For news, we've got the flaming trash fire that is the SNES Classics pre-order. We've got Sony still fighting the not-so-good fight against crossplay, and we've got Kyrie Irving ruining the cover of your favorite basketball video game. After that, we'll talk all about the Xbox One X Scorpio edition and a detailed look at what we might be able to expect from those enhanced titles. But first, I want to get into a little bit of an introduction. My name is Mac Smith. I'll be your host here, the self-proclaimed pixelatedgaming.com editor-in-chief. I write all the stuff on there, so if you've read anything, thank you. And I'm joined today by my co-host, Alphonso Crawford. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Glad to be on the show. You put a lot of work into this too, so glad to see this magic come to fruition.
Thank you. I'm happy to have you here. I'm excited. You ready to do a podcast?
Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's do it.
All right, cool. So I want to get into a little bit of an introduction so people can kind of know, who it is they're listening to for the next hour. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, Fonzie, and then maybe just kind of a light idea of what types of games you like and maybe some of your favorite games.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold you to it or anything, just a rough idea.
For sure. So basically my story, pretty simple. Avid gamer all my life. Right now I live in the Bay Area. I'm a techie, so typical Bay Area, San Francisco resident. Coding by day, gaming by night. Some of my favorite games.
It's a good catchphrase.
Some of my favorite games. I've always been a big competitive player. So although I love single player experiences, I'm one who will always jump into a game of Counter-Strike, Player Unknown Battlegrounds. Although my computer is a little too bad to play that, especially with.
Oh, I did not know that you've been playing that. We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah, definitely.
I really want to try that game.
Definitely, and I mean, recently I did buy a Switch. I played Zelda a lot, and I did just get a PS4. So I'm going through a backlog of a bunch of the single player experiences I did miss, like The Last of Us. I started Bloodborne for 30 seconds and died on the first boss, and I didn't realize you were supposed to die, so I quit the game.
Oh, okay.
But
I got fuck this.
I plan to go back to it. Yeah, and then favorite games of all time, man, that probably comes down to I really enjoyed Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I'm big on those fighting experiences. Probably Counter-Strike, and then probably one of the GTA games. Maybe GTA 4, just being the time of my life when I was playing it. But definitely a good game. So how about yourself, man?
So I live in Flagstaff. So I live up in the mountains in Arizona. I work for the university here, and I'm getting my master's degree. So that's what keeps me super busy these days.
For sure.
I can't play as many of the games as I want. Favorite types of games for me, I'm kind of the opposite, honestly. I don't play that many multiplayer competitive games. I mostly play single player experiences. Just it's easier. I don't know, I just find it easier to hop in and play some single player games and then kind of just hop out. But RPGs are big. I like immersive sims, which are like BioShock and
for
Prey,
sure.
Dishonored, those types of games. I like the games where they'll have emails or those little notes and shit you can read that are all useless, but they're really entertaining to me for some reason. And favorite games, The Witcher 3 is definitely up there. Majora's Mask is up there. Maybe Super Mario 64 or something.
Oh man, there's so many classics. Yeah, that's a hard question to answer.
It's a hard question to answer. Yeah, it's hard. One of my buddies just the other day on Twitter just posted these are my top 5 games. I was like, okay, well that's pretty serious. So I was trying to think. I was gonna reply and oh, okay, well these are mine, and I couldn't come up with 5. I was like, no, I can't pick 5. It's too hard.
Yeah, it's tough too, especially since I play. Like I said, I do play a lot of competitive or multiplayer games. It's hard to rank. Do I judge a game based on the amount of hours that I put into it, or do I judge a game based on my personal enjoyment? Because if you had to rank my all-time favorite game, it's probably Call of Duty 4, because I played that game
how much time
all
you
the
put
way
into
through
it?
the 10th Prestige. logically it has to be with the amount of time I put
Yeah.
into it. But I wouldn't
Yeah.
rank that in my top 5 personally. So
Yeah, right. It's not one you'd say, well, this is one of my top 5 games. It's just like, well, I spent a lot of time playing this one.
right.
Yeah. That was like Black Ops for me. Like the first one I played like crazy amounts of that, but I haven't gotten into like a Call of Duty in a long time. Not
Yeah,
even like not like since those days,
I
to be
actually
honest.
have the private beta is up this weekend. I have it on
Is
my
it good?
PlayStation 4. I haven't actually started it up yet. I did watch it on Twitch a little bit. Just I was a little busy yesterday, especially with all the fight stuff going on. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I haven't started it up myself, but I did watch a couple. I think like Nade Shot, like competitive player on Twitch, and it looked pretty good. It looked back to a lot like World at War. It looked back
Yeah,
to
like
like
back to basics
normal
a little
Call of
bit.
Duty. Like it looked like something I would enjoy playing, but not something that I would like put a lot of hours into, but
Hmm.
something that just like scratches that itch of like that like Twitch shooter, you know? So it was
Yeah, all the
everything's on the ground. No one's jumping off walls again,
yeah,
which is
right.
fortunate. Uh, there's a couple kill streaks that you know all the kill streaks kind of go with the same formula. There's like another predator missile type of thing, another
Hmm.
recon, but it looked good. I mean, the modes looked pretty fair, and I just really couldn't keep up with Call of Duty and all the like Twitch movement of probably like the last 2 or 3 titles. So I'm excited.
Yeah, it gets too fast. I mean, all that jetpack shit has been like missed on me. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it never clicked for me. I tried Advanced Warfare. I mean, I tried Black Ops 3. I think that was like pretty early on when they tried that. And Advanced Warfare, that was the last Sledgehammer one. And like neither of them just like felt right. Like just kind of too much mobility for what I wanted in a Call of Duty game.
yeah.
And so it's nice at least that they're going back. I'm sure that's a lot enough to get a lot of people back in. But for me, I don't know. I just don't end up playing them that often. I mean, like I got Battlefield 1, and I mean, I've barely ever put that thing in my Xbox, like
Yeah,
hardly
that's
ever. And
another
that's
game.
great. I've always loved Battlefield games in the past. I just like nowadays, like it's just not kind of conducive to how I game. So like I have barely ever even touched it.
Yeah, that's for sure. And it's like the Call of Duty, I think the biggest part that lost me was, of course, with my lack of time and actually like graduating from college and getting a real job. Then they decided to change up the control scheme, adding in these like dashes and like the
Yeah.
jetpacks and stuff. And they changed it before I had an elite controller. I think before an elite controller was even available. So
Uh huh.
I literally couldn't control the game. Like I felt like it was like my hands. I couldn't find a layout that worked for me. So where there were probably a bunch of like younger kids or teenagers who had the time to kind of change their play style around and like adapt to these new controls and new movements. Like I just quit because I couldn't do anything. Like I needed a paddle. I can't sprint and aim and then knife and then still jetpack, but also have my thumb still on the right stick to aim.
All
Like
at the same time.
yeah, it was too much.
Yeah.
So I had to let
Are
that
we
go.
becoming Are we becoming old people at video games
I
already?
definitely am becoming a little bit washed, and that's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I appreciate it, and that's why I bought a PlayStation 4 because I do enjoy competitive games, but I see that it's different for me. Like I'm not bad at the games. Like I have talent, but I'm also not one who can. For example, like in Overwatch, they do, these competitive seasons. It's like
That was too much for me. Overwatch was just
yes,
too much for
I
me, man.
actually I love that
That game
game.
is like just there's so much going on. Like the meta of like who you have to pick and like every just like the constant evolving nature of that game, I feel like is just too much that I would ever imagine to be able to keep up with. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
it's definitely
Like
crazy.
I'm the type of person that like, oh, I kind of like this guy. I'll just play as him. And it's like you can't really do that in Overwatch.
No, you definitely cannot. Yeah, it's definitely
Like you'll
that
get
like
like
MOBA.
destroyed by people and they'll like flame you and like hate you.
Yeah, it's definitely that MOBA mentality, right? Where it's like you can pick a
Yeah.
favorite, but you also need to be a diverse player in that you can play all the roles. And I enjoyed the game. I thought I don't think I enjoyed it maybe as much as part of the community has
That's a
enjoyed
pretty
it.
crazy community.
Yeah,
There's
because
a lot of
a lot
popular.
of people
Yeah,
have
it's
embraced
really
the
big.
lore of the story like way bigger. For this to be just like a multiplayer only game, like people
Yeah, right.
look at Overwatch as if it's like a whole world, which is awesome. That's great for Blizzard. But
I mean,
yeah,
that's Blizzard. Yeah.
yeah. But it's like the game was fun. I love it. I loved playing. Getting a couple rounds with friends. It does have a lot of like high intensity moments. My only
Hmm.
critique of it was. Uh, kind of like a lot of other MOBAs, but even worse a little bit. A lot of the fights come down to your ults, right? So it's like you know that you have like this character on your
Yeah.
team who has this ultimate attack, and you are just kind of waiting to do your pushes until, like, let's say like a
Until
Genji
everyone's
has
ults
his
are ready.
ult. So it gets a little annoying because then it makes some of the battles a little bit more scripted. It feels like, because you know what's happening. But overall, I think it's a pretty good game. But like the only thing I couldn't keep up with was, like, a lot of these multiplayer games are going into like seasons, which are
Yeah.
awesome. I wish they
Uh,
would have been around when
yeah.
I was younger, because it actually makes playing ranked matches fun. You don't have to go on
Hmm.
like game battles and all that stuff just to enjoy the game or to play
Yeah.
competitively or something. But the problem is you have to grind a lot in those seasons, um, and I can't keep up with it. Like, I'm a person who I could grind on a game maybe for like 2 weeks, and then I might take a month where I just have things lined up and I just cannot play. Like I can only get
Yeah.
like maybe a couple games in every other day, and I couldn't keep up with it. So that's how I know I'm washed. I cannot keep up with seasons. Like I just can't do it. I feel like I never get out of the
It's
10.
hard, man. It's a lot of time investment to like stay in and rank up in a season, especially when right at the end of the season it's just gonna all reset anyways.
Yeah, and you have to do like 10 preliminary matches to even get a rank, which is pretty standard for a lot of these games. And I
Yeah,
just
like Halo
never.
5 had similar kind of
Yeah,
things.
I
And
just.
I did play a lot of that, like a lot of the competitive ranked and like seasons on Halo 5, and I enjoyed that a lot. But even that, sometimes I was like, okay, like I've gotten up really well. I'm like, you know what, gold something or whatever's above gold, even I don't remember. But and then it's like,
Yeah, it's like
okay,
diamond,
like
plat,
now I
all
don't
that
have
shit.
enough
Yeah.
time to keep up on this, so
Yeah.
I'm just gonna drop right out after all that. So it's like kind of frustrating.
Yeah, it definitely is. Definitely is.
Yeah. Despite my, like I said, I hardly ever play multiplayer games. I will say that I have been playing a lot of Splatoon 2 lately,
I haven't
and that is a
actually
game.
bought
That is
that
a game
game.
I'm very surprised that I like, but it's really good.
I have to ask, how do you feel with the controls? Because I tried it during one of the play tests, and it was a little weird for me because I know
Yeah,
like
it feels weird at
naturally it has
first.
like motion controls. Like how do you
Hmm.
enjoy that?
So I first tried. I think I tried the same thing. They had like a little demo, a little Splatfest demo. I didn't actually even get to play like any modes, like any rounds,
Hmm.
but I at least downloaded it. And there's like that little intro part where you kind of just like there's a little tutorial. And I've always had really bad timing with all these like Nintendo demos, all the whatever they call them.
The
I
play
can't even think of
test?
what they're called.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like the little tests, but they always have like special names for them.
Yeah.
Test fire, test
Oh
punch,
yeah, like the
all those. I
global
always had
test
like
fires and stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah, I always had bad timing, so I never got to actually play it. But the motion controls when I first started, I was like, I don't know if I want to try these. I feel like it'd be weird. I'm not a big motion control guy. I never really have been. But I mean, if you look up anything on Splatoon, everyone basically lives or dies by the fact that if you want to be good at the game or like the best people at the game all use motion controls.
Right.
Just because of the way that the game is, like the angle that you have in that third person and like how kind of quick it can be when you're in like close quarters, it's kind of hard to follow people with the stick. Like, and like your guns, I mean, you're shooting like ink guns. Like they don't shoot super straight. They kind of splatter everywhere. They don't shoot super far. So it's hard to kind of like use the stick to be accurate. But with the motion controls, it essentially your left and right, like your left and right move with the stick or the motion controls. Up and down is only motion controls. So if you go up
I
or
see.
down on your right stick, it doesn't do anything, which is good because otherwise, if you're moving that around, your camera's gonna like be like all over the place.
Yeah, it's
So
it's crazy. That's why I was so confused
it
because I've
feels
seen
weird.
these videos of people. I've seen videos of pros, and of course, like competitive me, I take every game where like I judge a pro, and then I assume that I can do it, which is normally
Yeah,
never
right.
the case. But I like
You're like, oh,
hopped
I could
in.
do that. That's easy.
Yeah, I hopped in, and it's like I was at the spawn. I was still at my spawn, and I see people like flying, jumping off, like jumping through the wall, through the ink, and all this stuff. And I'm like going all slow, trying to build a path.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's weird. So the motion controls, I didn't feel like I would like them, but I still every now and then if I haven't played, I'll come back to it and I'll feel like when you get in like a tense situation, like where you're right up at somebody, I'll feel like I'm like shaking up my controller, like getting all stressed, like all tense, and I like fuck it up and die. But it works. I mean, it works really well, and I'm surprised that I'm like having so much fun with the game. I just like keep coming back to it all the time. Just because I mean the matches are like 3 minutes long, so it's like super quick. It's like some of the modes, like the ranked modes, which I've been playing, are like pretty competitive and can get like pretty intense. And
Right.
I mean, it's a Nintendo game. It's a first party, so the art style is really crazy, and there's like crazy like clothes and shit in the game. So I have a pair of like Yeezys. They're like fake Yeezys in the
Yeah,
game.
I saw they
They're
had
literally
that.
yeah, they're literally called like Norimaki like 750s, like the Yeezy Boost 750s. So I have those on my guy in like a leather jacket. So it's ridiculous, but it's super fun.
Yeah,
You should
so
check it out.
I have to ask, like, how how do you handle the actual Nintendo app with the game? How do you feel
So
about that?
I haven't tried it for voice chat yet. I have two friends that actually have Splatoon, but I haven't like tried and played it. Haven't tried to play with them yet. But I mean, I've done enough like research online to see how the app works, and I mean, it does not look great. The actual app itself, like the Splat, there's a thing called like SplatNet or whatever on the app. It's like an internal app within it that you can like look at your Splatoon stats and like buy things from like the shop and stuff from your phone, and like that's cool. So I do hope that games have those kind of like specialized services within the app, because that's really, I think that's kind of fun. But the actual like the rest of the app, I mean, there's like nothing there. It's not
Right.
very exciting. I mean, you can't send messages. You can't like see when your friends are online. There's essentially no social aspect of it at all, other than if you want to do a voice chat lobby, you have to be in certain modes in Splatoon. So there's League Battle, which is like ranked battle but harder, but you can only do it with like friends. So it's like you have to be in a team of people.
Oh, I see. That's cool.
Yeah, and then that's pretty cool. And then you can do it in like custom battles, like custom modes. So if you're doing like a custom gameplay for like any of the multiplayer modes, or if you're doing like the salmon run, which is like the horde mode, which is also really great. If you're doing it in those, then you can do the lobby, but you have to create the room on Splatoon 2, and then you go to your phone to invite people to the room. And then once they're in the room, the chat, from what I've seen, is fine. It sounds good. It'll like move you around based on your teams, so you have team chat. But if you switch apps, which check Twitter like between
Right.
matches, like everyone in the world does, or even if your phone locks, like even if the screen locks, the voice chat's immediately cut off. And when
Yeah,
you bring
see,
it back
that's
up,
ridiculous.
it starts working again. But you lock your phone and the voice chat turns off. Like I don't understand who thought of that. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
that makes sense. That works as it's supposed to.
it's so weird too because I feel like Nintendo keeps hitting these random like on these multiplayer issues and predicaments, and it's like I know they have the capability of doing things the right way, especially because you have years
Yeah,
of examples now. Like this is not like they're not like a pioneer in online gaming, but it
yeah,
seems like we keep. It just didn't make sense to me. Like I don't know how you design the console and you don't really consider like how are you gonna have a wireless mic in the game, right? Like
yeah. I don't understand.
they really should have had some at least some Bluetooth headset or something they can use. Like going through your phone is just it's a little crazy to me, but
Yeah,
I
and like
respect
I
that it's a
get,
good game, but I
yeah,
don't know. I don't get that decision making.
yeah, and like I mean, every time that Nintendo does these things that makes it look like, oh, okay, this is a different Nintendo than we're used to. They're
Yeah,
really stepping it up this time. Like the Switch has been great. They've gotten so
phenomenal.
far. I mean, it's been less than a year. It's been 5 months, almost six. They've had really good third-party support announcements. We'll talk more about some of this stuff later, but they are one of the people who accepted crossplay with Microsoft for Minecraft and for Rocket League, which is awesome. They've got all these new competitive games, like they have ARMS, they have Splatoon, Puckin
Hmm.
Tournament, whatever, like all these cool competitive online games and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But then you're like, okay, wow, Nintendo's really like hitting their stride. They're having an online coming out. It's for a good price. There's gonna be you'll get like digital SNES games that you can play that'll have added online leaderboards. But it's
Yeah,
like,
like
but then they can't get messaging or voice chat right. It's like that's the simplest part of the equation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, really.
Like,
And isn't the price
how is it
model
that
supposed to be
hard?
like $20 a year or something? Like
It's $20 a year. It's like so cheap. It's like that would be so exciting, but
of
it's like,
course.
but it's not as exciting if you're not getting all of the basic features that are required.
Of course. And I mean, this is all opinion based, but like at least comparing like the Switch to the Wii release, I feel like this is Nintendo really won. Like legitimate gamers are buying this. Whereas when
Yeah.
people were buying the Wii, I mean, no offense to them, but there's a lot of people, buying like Wii to play Wii Sports with their grandma or with their parents,
Yeah,
or like
right.
it's not. I mean, those are sales. Those are all important sales to a company. But in terms of like the gaming community, that's not really pushing anything forward, right? But the Switch
Yeah.
is actually pushing gaming forward in a different way. Like we haven't seen this before, so it's crazy. Like they really could do whatever they wanted this year, and especially with the amount of games they're putting out in year one, they really can do whatever they want. Like they're unstoppable. So I was surprised to see like their one flaw is like their online. I guess their chat capabilities and online, because
Yeah,
even the
and I
game
mean it's
multiplayer
so
wise is
simple.
doing phenomenal. But it's
Yeah, I
just
mean
communicating.
it's selling a lot, and I mean I don't have too many disconnect problems. Like some
Yeah,
people do. There are a couple issues. I'm writing a review up for Splatoon 2 right now, but there are a couple issues for like matchmaking, like in Call of Duty and other games that have great matchmaking. If someone drops out, people come in to replace them, right?
right.
That doesn't really happen in Splatoon because when you're in Splatoon, you only start new matches. You don't get put into matches that are like in the middle or that have open spots, which is nice because when you're starting a match, you're always starting a brand new match. You're not coming into something where you're losing like 99-1, like in some games.
Yeah,
But it
for
means
sure.
that if someone disconnects from your match, that's it. Right at the beginning, if that happens, okay, now it's 3 versus 4. Okay, now it's 2 versus 4. You're gonna lose.
Yeah,
So
that's
there's
just
some
the
problems
predicament.
there's some
That's just like the
matchmaking
predicament with
problems
a
for
lot of like
sure.
the competitive games. I mean, that
Yeah,
stuff. I imagine Splatoon matches aren't that long, but I mean, from my personal experience, like you can play Counter Strike. That's a 30 round game, and
yeah,
people drop off in like round 5. So you can possibly end up playing in 30 rounds is not including if there's an overtime. So that's a lot of
that's
time
out of
that you can play
control.
a game, outmatched or outnumbered. So
Yeah.
that's another problem. They handle it in ways where you get banned for a certain amount of time, things like that. Is it kind of similar in Splatoon? Like, do you get like a penalty or anything
Yeah,
for leaving?
it's actually pretty funny. It's a very Nintendo way of doing it. Everything in the game, of course, is you're a squid kid. Everything is all like fish puns and nautical jokes and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Whenever if you disconnect from a couple games, it'll pop up on the screen and say, we've seen that you've disconnected from a couple games. That seems pretty fishy," and like
That's
really
funny.
long letters. And it'll say like, make sure you don't disconnect from games. And it's like, I'm not quitting from the game. You kicked me out of the game. Okay, don't give me that. Don't give me that attitude. But it's a pretty Nintendo way to do it. But I mean, the game has a lot of potential. I imagine they've been doing a lot of support for it. There's been a bunch of new weapons and new maps. Just this weekend, there's like I think a new special weapon and 2 new maps coming. So they've been adding stuff to it. I'm just hoping that they'll add kind of some of those quality of life things. Like you can't change your
Right.
loadout in between matches. You have to go back all the way back to the multiplayer menu to change your loadout, which makes no sense to me. If I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm getting my ass kicked with this gun, I want to just be able to change it right between the match. Like things like that just don't make any sense. So they can definitely do some minor fixes, and I think they'd have like a really good franchise to keep building on.
Yeah, that's. I'll probably. Man, I think it'll go on sale soon. I might give it a go.
It'll probably go on sale for the holiday. I got it for like a discount with like a Google Express and like Groupon. I got it for like $40,
Oh,
but I'm
that's a
sure
pretty
it'll
good
go
deal.
on sale pretty soon.
Yeah, I would have
I
bought
was
it
like,
if it was
I'll
40
pay for
bucks
it.
for sure.
Yeah, I was like, I'll pay 40 for it.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and let's get into the news for this last week. So we've got a bit of stuff here to talk about, and then of course, with Gamescom, we had a little bit of extra information to digest, which is nice. The summer is always so slow for news, so we actually had a little bit to talk about here. First, I know this is something, especially based on our conversation so far in this podcast, that'll interest you. So Dragon Ball Fighter Z
Oh,
has a
man.
beta that is now available for select members of the Xbox Insider Program. They also added some new fighters with, they confirmed Krillin, Android 16, Android 18, Piccolo, Trunks, and then Super Saiyan God, Vegeta, and Goku.
Yeah, so I'm of course like super 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 excited for that game. It's like Dragon Ball
Me,
Z,
I'm
but
actually really excited
it's
for
like
this game
it's like
too.
Dragon Ball Z, but like Marvel versus Capcom. Like I of
Yeah,
course that's everything that I would love. And I
made
think
by the Guilty Gear people, which I've never played, but I always hear great things about.
yeah, of course I've never played them myself, but I recognize them. Like they are, I know they're a good fighting game. Just a lot of people speak very highly about it. But yeah, I think they've been doing things pretty well so far. I mean, the community has been very excited about the gameplay. The mechanics look pretty good. They're simple enough where you don't have some of like the motions, like the input motions. You don't have some of them like Street Fighter. Like you're not doing charge mechanics. Everything is like quarter circle forward. Which if anyone plays fighting games, that's like
Okay,
the most basic. Like that's like a Hadouken in Street Fighter, and pretty much
okay,
everyone has input like that. So it's a game where if you've ever played a fighting game before, you should be able to at least get some combos in pretty quickly. But at the same time, there's definitely like different styles. Like they have like some like dragon rushes and like air dashes and all these different things to extend combos or get more damage in
yeah,
different ways. And like I said, the cast has been pretty good so far too. I think it was interesting that they started off immediately with some of the characters already in different forms. So like Goku and
yeah.
Vegeta, like their base ones are actually already like Super Saiyan Goku, Vegeta, Super Saiyan Gohan. I thought that
Yeah.
was pretty cool, and they have like a Krillin
I
in
mean,
here
it kind of
now.
makes sense.
Yeah, they have like a Krillin in here with like a Sensu bean kind of like recovery mechanic. They have like androids 17 and 18 now doing like this like dual partner character thing.
I saw that one. Yeah, they're like
Yeah.
working together and like comboing together. That was pretty cool.
The only thing I was curious about, and of course, like the competitive side of me comes out, is when they introduce like the Super Saiyan Blue characters.
Yeah,
Because a little bit of me is like, you already have a Goku and Vegeta, and if you look at their stats, like just logically speaking, those characters are going to have to be stronger. They're a stronger form.
yeah. That's
It
that's
just
my
wouldn't.
thing too. I
It
mean,
wouldn't make
just
sense.
watch an episode of Dragon Ball Z and you'll understand. Like, the problem in the show is always like the power leveling. Like, oh, this guy's stronger than this guy. This guy is stronger than this guy, but only when this guy's at like his peak power. Which like I love Dragon Ball Z. But it's like I'm curious how that stuff's going to go into the game because obviously, if you're fighting with a Super Saiyan Goku versus a Super Saiyan Blue Goku, I mean, obviously Super Saiyan Blue Goku is technically stronger. So I'm curious how they're going to
Technically,
handle that kind
world
of stuff in the
stronger.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. So I don't know how they're going to handle that stuff, but I mean that game looks beautiful in
yeah.
motion. It looks amazing.
Yeah, that's
It's
it.
like
It's
just crazy.
it's crazy. The particle effects and things like that. They really got the
Yeah.
visualization down,
Wow.
and everyone's been asking for a competitive Dragon Ball Z game for a while. I mean, I know that people had like there were tournaments and competitions for others, but I mean, just like you said, there's never been any type of balance, and it's hard to balance a show where people are just continuously growing. Like now we have like a Super Saiyan Blue Goku who can fight Krillin.
Yeah. I mean that's an even matchup, clearly, right?
So, like you have a Super Saiyan Blue. I mean, that's supposed to be a form. I think that is now past God form, if I know correctly. I mean, someone will probably correct me
It's
on
all
that. I
very
haven't really
confusing.
followed Dragon Ball Super too much,
Me neither.
but the point is, I was very kind of curious and skeptical when I heard that because I'm like, okay, here we go. Now they're just gonna start throwing in a bunch of super characters, and everyone's just gonna end up picking the same characters when they play online or any of the tournaments because it will still be competitive. But why would you pick any of the lower tiers? But from at least what they've been sharing about, like the fighting like metadata and the stats, and at least in their trailers, they've kind of explained it in a way that makes the stronger characters kind of like what you call like a glass cannon, where it's
Oh,
like
okay, that
they're
makes sense.
super strong, but they're also weaker. And then on top of that, I think they shut down some of the, or they kind of minimize some of the windows of input for the combos. So you may see like a regular Goku, anyone can pick him up and do a bunch of air combos, and it's like super easy, and you're kicking ass, and it's great. But you see someone pick up like Super Saiyan Blue Goku, and he's super powerful, but you're dropping combos all the time because you're not used to. It's a more kind
Okay,
of
it's like a more
it's a more
technical character.
advanced, strict. Yeah, it's a more strict technical character. So I think that's how they've been approaching it, and if so, then that's still great. mean, it really doesn't change the idea that everyone's still gonna pick Super Saiyan Blue Goku
Yeah.
because if you're good at the game, like you're good at the game. You can, if you're good, you can play a good character. Like
Yeah.
the technical gap isn't gonna stop you if you're good at the game. So you still have that issue, but I don't know. I'm just waiting to see. It looks super fun. I was actually really sad. There's a Crunchyroll convention in Santa Clara in the Bay Area, and they had a DB like the Dragon Ball Fighter Z demo this weekend, and I did not even know about it until
Oh, that's
like
that's
last
like right
night.
there.
Yeah, exactly. I was already maybe about 20 minutes away to see
Oh
the fight
man,
with my
that's a
friends.
bummer.
Like I easily could have went down earlier in the day and played a couple games, but I will
Dang.
wait. Hopefully, I get into this beta coming up.
Yeah, you're in the insider program, right?
Yeah, I'm in the insider program, and I also have a PlayStation 4 as well now. So I entered like 5 emails into that beta. So if I don't get in, I'll be pretty pissed about that. But yeah, they're keeping it. We don't really know how Xbox is distributing it because even if you're in the insider program, it's still another
You're still
process to get
not,
it.
yeah, you still have to go in and you may not even be selected. So I'm not sure what
Yeah,
that extra layer of selection is, but
and it's not a quite full beta as well. It's more of like a the Nintendo playtest.
yeah.
There's I think there's like 3 or 4 different time windows on September 16th and 17th, which
Okay.
of course is the worst time for me because that's my girlfriend's birthday. But I will try to squeeze out.
I'm
I'll
sure
try to
she'll understand.
try to squeeze out at least an hour or two from one of those sessions.
Just
Yeah,
just tell her to see you with them hands on Fighter Z,
yeah.
and then
I
you'll be
think
good.
I'll pass her my arcade stick. She enjoys the nostalgia. So
Okay, okay, it works.
yeah.
So for our next news item, so Shannon Loftus, Microsoft Studios general manager, has officially stated just yesterday or the day before that Crackdown 3 was shown quote unquote too early. So that kind of, I think it's kind of furthering the sentiment. So Phil Spencer, head of Xbox, has said that they don't want to show games anymore until they're ready. So they're not trying to, kind of just keep showing things too early, which, kind of a good and a bad thing. What are your thoughts
Yeah.
on this?
I think it's I mean, I definitely think it's a bad thing. And of course, being like the software developer I am, it makes me cringe because the feeling of having to give a demo when you know you're not ready is just it really hits like your spine. But at the same time, we I have to take what Microsoft is saying with a grain of salt about, trying or attempting to only show games when they're at a good state or a ready state, only because they were kind of started. I mean, they started on the idea of showing games early. I mean, if you look
Yeah.
back at the first time Halo was ever shown, or the first time Halo was ever shown at, I think, a Microsoft presser or something like that, they didn't even know it was going to run. And someone might correct me if I'm wrong on some of my historical data here, but if I remember
It's okay. There's
correctly,
only like 3 people listening.
I watched a documentary about it, and the Bungie developers, they weren't even sure the game was going to run. They swore it was going to crash, and it worked for some reason. It just happened to work that day, and then history was made from there on out. Everyone loved it. It was like one of the earlier versions of Halo when Master Chief looked like still kind of weird, but like still green, but kind of
Yeah.
blocky. But yeah, I mean, and that's kind of how it's always been. From that point on, Microsoft has been, I think they've been a leader in a good amount of the generation since their incubation. So they were used to being able to, show a game maybe a little bit early because it didn't really matter, right? It doesn't matter if you show one game early and then it gets delayed when you have like 5 other exclusives, or you still
Yeah,
have Halo,
exactly.
the machine of Halo, or you have the machine of Gears of War behind you. Like it's okay, especially if it's Crackdown. And I'm not belittling Crackdown in any way, but
But
I
no
mean,
one's going crazy for
we can't
Crackdown
forget, like
necessarily. You know what I mean?
we can't forget the first Crackdown. The selling point of that was you got access to the Halo 3 beta. Like that's why the game
Right?
sold well. So it's like
I
I
did love
understand
the first Crackdown, though, if I'm being honest. It was really fun. But
good
I'm
games.
excited for Crackdown 3, but I'm not
Yeah,
like freaking out for it.
definitely good games, but yeah, I think they just don't they don't take those franchises as serious. But I mean the game has changed now. Times have changed. Halo and Gears of War are still pretty, and they're still like honestly probably still system sellers, but they're not quite what they were before. But Microsoft did this interesting thing of releasing Halo and Gears back-to-back years. So it really put them in an awkward position. I think they were just trying to gain a bunch of traction and, maybe a area where they, the PlayStation was kind of putting out a bunch of exclusives and a bunch of games. And I mean, their sales have just always been leading outside of the Switch now. But
Yeah.
I don't really believe it per se. I mean, if you can't just wait until a game is ready to always show it. That's also like the push and pull of just any game development or software. Like even if you're not ready, you still have to show something because you're losing fans and you're losing customers. And personally, like I saw that Crackdown delay, and that's one of the reasons that led me to buy my PlayStation 4 last weekend. Like I knew it was like there's not a lot coming out this fall. This is a good time to work on my backlog. I have a little bit of free
Yeah.
money right now. Like why don't I just go buy one? So it sucks. I think it sucks for the fans. It sucks for Microsoft. And I hope they can, work on that. How do you feel?
I mean, I feel kind of the same way. So I get there's kind of two sides to it, right? So I think it's a good thing to not have too many games that we're like, oh, that looks cool. That's probably not going to come out for 10 years, right? So there's this thing. So like
Right.
last year at E3, right, and the year before, Sony had excellent shows. They showed all these games. They showed this crazy roadmap of games coming out. But it's almost like some of those games, when am I ever going to actually be able to play this? You get a tiny
That is
teaser,
very true.
or you get this little super doctored vertical slice trailer that, looks great, but I mean, that represents what? Nothing of the real game, because who knows when that game's going to be ready. And there's been a lot of these games, like Shenmue 3. Obviously, Final Fantasy 15 took 10 years. Kingdom Hearts 3 was
Don't even
announced
talk about
like
Kingdom
12
Hearts.
years ago. You know what I mean? It's kind of, you have to find this middle ground. I feel like Sony did a little better this year in that they only showed things coming out next year. But, a lot of those things were still only kind of small demos. The date's only 2018, which who knows if they'll make that. But it's like Microsoft, on the other hand, has shown kind of none of that roadmap. So we know
Yeah.
that we have Crackdown 3 supposed to come out in November, now coming out in the spring. We have Sea of Thieves coming out next year, early 18. And then we have the State of Decay 2 coming out early next year. And that's really all that we know that's coming out going forward, other than, like
Yeah.
Forza, right? But
Yeah, it's tough.
for beyond 2017, we only know of 3 games that we've been seeing for the last, 2-3 E3s, and we haven't seen anything new coming out. So it's almost like, okay, I like that I'm not having to sit around and wait to play the cool games that I'm seeing. Like, oh, that game looks cool. I'll play it 5 years from now. But at the same time, I'd like to at least have some idea of what's coming out. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah,
we need
it's
to
tough.
find that sweet spot.
It's definitely tough
Because right now, as
because
an Xbox
I'm
fan, it sucks.
I am a person who was okay with claiming that like I was an Xbox fanboy. Sorry, I was okay with that. Like
Yeah, right. Me too.
I really was like ride or die with Microsoft. Like I really enjoyed the 360. I was ready for the Xbox One to be great, and I thought that it was, I mean, relatively good for the beginning of its life. But it sucks. I don't, like you said, I really don't know what I plan to play on my Xbox kind of from here on out. Like I like Forza, but I won't be hurt if I miss a Forza. I've played enough of them recently to where, it's
I
not
mean,
that
it's
big
like
of a deal
every
to me.
year there's a Forza game now.
Yeah, Sea of Thieves
They're
definitely
they're
looks,
really turning that franchise over.
yeah, definitely. Sea of Thieves looks pretty fun. It's definitely dependent on, I guess, your friends. And I mean, it's
Exactly.
similar to a couple games that, a couple smaller games on PC already. So it's like another game where it's like I would play it, but if I miss it, I won't be hurt. It's like outside of that, it sucks. I don't really know what else to look forward to at this point. Like, and I get it. Like, I also don't want them to be the Sony as well. Like you said, Kingdom Hearts 3. Like, how long can you wait? Although we finally are seeing gameplay of that, which is nice, I guess.
Yeah, what 2018 they say.
Yeah, right.
We'll see how that goes.
But it's tough because it's like, it's especially when you have PlayStation, looking to put out, like, they have a new God of War, they have that Spider-Man game, which I think looks
It's
amazing.
amazing.
They have even they hinted at a Last of Us 2 trailer, which a Last
Yeah.
of Us 2 trailer would be that's a really big deal. Anything Naughty Dog, that's pushing consoles or at least selling a bunch of
Yeah.
units.
They've got
So
the new zombie motorcycle gang game, whatever it's called. I can't think of. Days
oh
Gone, that one.
yeah,
That
yeah,
looks
yeah.
dope.
Especially yeah, they have I think they have Life is Strange. Is that a console exclusive? PlayStation exclusive?
No, Life is Strange, I believe, is on both consoles.
Oh, I
I know
see.
the
I
first
see.
one was. I don't know about the new like prequel that's coming. I know it's on Xbox because they always show
Yeah.
it like at Microsoft's conferences, but I don't know if I don't think it's an Xbox exclusive.
Yeah, unfortunately that game, the first one got spoiled for me anyway, so I never got a chance to go back and
I
really
never
enjoy
played
it.
it either. I never had it spoiled. I didn't know about it. Like it kept going on sale. I wasn't sure. Eventually, I might just pick it up. I've
Yeah,
always heard such
if you
great
don't know
things,
about
but
it, definitely play it. I watched like literally tuned into like one of my favorite streamers on Twitch, like when he was beating the game. So I just don't think that it makes much sense for me now to go back. And
to go back and
I know the
play it.
biggest
Yeah,
decision you make in the game. Like it's a standard like Telltale formula.
yeah, kind of like
Making
decision
decisions.
making.
Yeah, so
Let this
I know
person
the
die
biggest
or whatever.
decision now, and I know it, and I just couldn't stop watching it because I didn't even know what the game was, anyways. And
Oh
then it's
yeah,
like right after I watched him stream it, then it's like it was a huge deal, and I was like, damn, I missed out. But I guess back to my point, I have stuff to look forward to on PlayStation, but I don't know if I feel that way about the Xbox. Although the fanboy in me is probably still gonna buy the Scorpio, but
yeah,
I don't know what I'm gonna play on it. So
yeah,
to be determined.
yeah. TBD. Another thing from Shannon Loftus, Recore is getting a definitive edition, which will come out on Tuesday. Which, if by the
Nice.
time that you're listening, it may already be out. August 29th. The update will be free actually for current owners. So if you already own Recore, you'll get all the new features for free. If not, then you can buy the game for $19.99. It's supposed to have a new story arc, a new core bot, which are the little robot dudes that you hang out with. It's supposed to be increased resolution for all consoles, and supposedly 4K for the Xbox One X, HDR support now, a lot of bug fixes. Yeah, which is cool. I thought this was interesting. I never played this game last year, but I heard it had some good potential that was held back by just like technical problems and like some
Right.
missing content. So I will be hopping into this to check it out. I mean, it's made by the creator of Mega Man, so I mean it's a pretty cool thing there right from the bat. And I'm hoping that this can do well because I mean. Microsoft doesn't have a whole lot of new IPs to just throw in the garbage these days.
Yeah,
So
definitely not.
the fact that they started this new exclusive IP with a relative legend in gaming, I think that this should be something that they could potentially keep going forward. So I'm hoping that this will save the game at least.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely might give it a try. I've for we said $20 it was.
Yeah,
I mean,
20 bucks is not bad, right?
that's not bad. I spend
Yeah.
more than that on food, unfortunately. So
Yeah, living in San Francisco, I'm not surprised. But I do think this is interesting. I mean, when they showed the trailer, they're like, "Oh, fully remastered." I was like, "This game came out a year ago. Is that where we are now? Is we're remastering year-old games? Like, come on."
yeah, I mean that's another
Like,
part of
really?
this generation that was I think I remember I was listening somewhere, reading somewhere, and it was a question about like how you define a generation, and it's like the remasters and the remakes, like it got a little
Yeah, yeah.
ridiculous. Where it's like I feel like a game can come out and 6 months later, it's like oh hey, we remastered it, which in development world that probably just means that you have like a 2.0 version. It's like a patch,
Yeah.
really, like it's not necessarily remastered. You kind of just like bundled some DLC with it or something, but I don't know. I, it works if it sells units and it's cheap. If it's $20, I can't argue with that. I'm not here for the $60 remasters or
Yeah,
remakes
nope.
though. For a game that was just like, unfortunately I fell for it, and not attacking Rockstar, but was definitely not here for the GTA 5 coming on 360 and then releasing again the next year on Xbox One. Like that doesn't do anything for me. I gave you $120 and I still do not have enough shark money to even buy the car that I want. Like that's BS.
That game is insane. That game is still on like the top 5 of NPD every single month. I don't understand.
Yeah, it's a gift and a curse, right? Because it's like I don't like the idea that they're just making a bunch of money on the microtransactions now. but at the same time, I have to respect them. I mean, if you're doing something right, you're gonna keep doing it right, and
Yeah.
they're making money. People are really enjoying GTA Online. They're adding random content like Hot Wheel racing and stuff like
Yeah,
that,
right.
which actually is pretty fun. But I will say GTA racing is like amazing, because it mostly is a rip on. They literally kind of took the mechanics from Midnight Club, so the racing is really good. But yeah, I don't. I feel bad for the franchise going forward because I don't ever really see another GTA that's focused. That I just don't see a single player GTA being as good now, because it's like, why would you do that? That's not where the money's at. That's why there was no DLC, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
I definitely think they could have added more to the story, but there's no money there, right? So I'm
Yeah.
interested to see. I hope that doesn't have any effect on like a Red Dead Redemption or something like that.
What I've been crossing my fingers for too, is that I'd like to see a cool online cowboy western GTA Online type of thing, but not to that same level, because GTA Online just had too much going on, and for me anyways, like it just had so much going on that I just felt like I didn't want to just hop in and play it that much after a while.
Right.
And I mean, at this point, it's like if you take a break from that game and now you come back in years later, I mean, what could you even possibly imagine that you're going to accomplish after like
Yeah,
3 years that people have been consistently playing? And now you're going to hop in and you're like level 10 and people are like level 900 or whatever it goes up to. It's like, man, I couldn't even fathom trying to keep up anymore, you know?
Yeah, that's what makes it hard, right? You can't really revisit those games. Like once you're
Yeah.
out, you're out.
You're done. Yeah. You gave it up.
And the problem is their market is, I mean, of course it's a blanket statement, but they're really being pushed by like a bunch of teenagers who have the time to play that game and kind of like delve their life away.
Yeah.
It's like a urban World of Warcraft at this point.
Yeah, right.
So but
So next thing here, and this is not a great news point. We've got so Nintendo, the SNES Classic officially went up for pre-order on August 21st in the middle of the night at 1 a.m. and sold out in about 20 minutes at 1 a.m. That was Walmart, I believe, and then it went up at Best Buy and Target and Amazon and everywhere else throughout that day, and every single time sold out within minutes. Supposedly, GameStop has said that they will have more coming on September 29th when the actual console launches, but so far it is not looking good for SNES purchasers.
not at all. Yeah, that was annoying to me.
I mean,
got
it's a joke.
I got a message that like when it went live on Target from someone at work, they posted it like sharing the link, and I had it in my cart and everything. I cannot explain to you how excited I was. And then when I got to actually check out and it's like the page aired out, I was pissed, like pissed. And it sucks because this is like a Super Nintendo. I really, really wanted this. That's a big thing to me. But I refuse to spend, what is it, $60 retail or something? I refuse to spend like the $200
Yeah.
to buy it on
It's
eBay or something. Like,
$79.99 retail. I was looking on eBay before this, and I mean, it's $200 to $300 for that thing. I'm like, are you kidding me?
That's ridiculous.
It's
I'm not spending
ridiculous.
the same amount that I spent on my Switch on a Super Nintendo that already has a certain number of games on it. I might as well just make my own Super Nintendo at that point.
Yeah.
I can just get like a Raspberry Pi or make my own little arcade cabinet or something. Like, I'm not spending $300 on this. So
Yeah,
it
it's out
sucks.
of control.
And I understand, Nintendo's marketing strategy with that, keep supply down, raise demand. But I have to wonder, like, at what point, I mean, the Super Nintendo will sell. It's not going to sit on shelves. You can double your, double the amount that you're shipping. It will not sit on shelves this Christmas season.
Exactly.
It will sell. So it really sucks, especially when they probably have the power. Because I can't think of a limitation that would, make you have to make it this limited. But it just sucks. It sucks, but you accept it, I guess. I accepted it last year, and I knew it would happen again this year.
Yeah, I mean, no matter how many times they come out and say, "Hey, it's going to be different this time. We're going to have more."
Yeah,
I mean, it never will. I mean, if anything,
never.
Maybe Nintendo has more this year, but people have only learned from last year that they need to be insane and they need to pre-order. They need to get these, and like no one can wait. You have to immediately get the pre-order the second that it goes up. So, if anything,
Right.
people have gotten worse because they learned that, wow, last year this was terrible. I need to be more insane in order to be able to actually get this. And
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
just
And it's like
ridiculous.
I think they have this idea that like putting it out at a random time is some
It's fair.
it's supposed to be fair for everyone. But let's be honest,
I
like
mean,
the
it's
average
1
consumer
a.m.
is not the only people who are checking to buy that console or who have like some type of watch alerts or apps or something watching that console are probably looking to resell it.
Are probably
Like
the
you're
scalpers. Yeah.
yeah, you're not gonna be like me. I wanted that console, but I'm not up at 3 a.m. to buy that from Best Buy, so
Yeah.
I'm now screwed.
Yeah.
Like that's ridiculous.
I would have never expected that buying a Nintendo console would turn into like buying a pair of Jordans, but
For
somehow
real,
that's
man. I'm
where
about
we
to
are
start
in
camping outside.
2017.
Like
Yeah, that's where we are in
it's insane.
2017. You have to have a bot to be able to buy an SNES now.
Which is crazy, right? Because it's like even in if you look at like the shoe game and things like that, like they've now found ways to make the releases a little bit more fair. Like realistically, like not getting into shoes at all, but if you want to buy a pair of Yeezys or something, they're obtainable. You just have to put a little bit of work in.
Yeah.
But a Super Nintendo console is you're not getting it. It's just not happening. You can do nothing about it. It has to be pure luck. Like you're not getting that console, so it
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah. So, in some Sony news, we've got some interesting information here. So, first, Destiny 2 will run at 30 frames per second on all consoles, including PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, which is making essentially the PC the best option. This was again confirmed just recently. Kind of a bummer, especially when we've got all these more powerful consoles. But one that I understand in the competitive sphere. You want everyone to have the same chance. And if you've got Xbox people, on the regular Xbox One playing at 30 and on the Xbox One X playing at 60, clearly one of those two has an advantage over the other. So I kind of understand it, but it's still kind of a bummer.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way actually, but the only thing that refutes that is that's kind of like standard PC gaming, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's running at a different frame rate.
That's
So
true. That is true. Because not everyone's
one of those
rig
things
can
where
handle 60 frames per second. That's true.
yeah, so it's one of those things. It's like if you do want to be competitive with it, you kind of do jump to the you try to play on the best platform. I think it sucks. It definitely sucks for PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, like future owners. Especially Destiny is a premier game of this generation, visually and gameplay wise. So I think everyone expects that to be 60 FPS. It's like I spent more money on my console. What's going on? Like I'm still playing on 30 FPS. But it's I honestly I think it just came down to probably just like a resource allocation within Bungie.
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
I definitely think they probably could have pushed 60 FPS with it, but why? Like what's the point, right? You hit a
Yeah.
point where it's like,
Like they
is
probably
it
don't
worth
care.
it?
People will buy it regardless.
Yeah, and their reasoning is, oh well, we want to be able to, show 40, I think they said like 40 enemies on the screen while you're doing this. So if you want 60 FPS, you have to recognize that you will have less enemies. So I mean, if what they're saying is true and 30 FPS is still going to give you like this amazing combat scenes and scenarios, I think people will get over that. But
Yeah, I
it
think
is
so.
a
I mean,
bummer.
it is what it is, I guess.
It is a bummer for the fact that it's going to be, or you have to have a PC to play it, I guess, in its truest, like most powerful form.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I think maybe they did that to maybe plan ahead in a way, because I know they said they wanted Destiny 2 to be a lot longer, like the longevity of the game to be a lot longer. As someone, I swear I read somewhere like they said they wanted it to be like 5 years or
Good
something
God.
like that. Like this is a real MMO. This is a real attempt at first person shooter MMO on the scales of a World of Warcraft or like a Guild Wars 2 or something like that. So it kind of makes sense that that PC is going to get the best experience in that regards anyways, because if you're playing MMO, you do go PC.
Yeah.
But
Are you interested in
I
Destiny 2? Is it doing it for you?
I personally am not. I
Me
think
neither.
Destiny 1 kind of tainted that for me.
Yeah, I was one of
did-
the I was one
I-
of the early people who was kind of burned on.
Oh,
Destiny
yeah.
1. Yeah.
I love the beta. I loved the beta when it came out. I played the alpha and the beta. I loved the game. But I just didn't enjoy doing the same things over and over. I think the content there just wasn't enough content, and then when they did add content, I didn't want to pay for it.
Yeah, and by the time that
And
all that content came out, I was just like, I'm kind of done with this game already. Like, I don't need to.
yeah,
This doesn't give me enough. I don't want to revisit it.
and I struggle to play multiplayer games that involved a lot of grinding in terms of like my abilities and my weapons and things like that. Like I don't have the time. I just don't. Like I can't always sit just waiting for like a legendary loot to drop. Like I don't have the time to really do that anymore.
Yeah,
So
exactly. It's just
it
so
just,
much.
it just
It's so
doesn't
much work.
really, yeah, it doesn't really work for me in that regards. And even if I wanted to get on there and play like the multiplayer arena, like you still have to be like a certain level or have certain guns, or you're just getting smacked. Like it's not like Halo. You don't start with BRs. You can't like go pick up. Like it's not like that.
Yeah.
So I'm not. With that being said, I mean I'll watch of course and see reviews and watch Twitch and things like that, and I'll see how I feel about Destiny 2. But it's not a day one purchase for me. It's probably not even a first month purchase
Yeah, me
for
neither.
me.
Yeah,
It's
probably
maybe
not a
like a
purchase
Black
at all for
Friday.
me, to be honest.
It's probably not a purchase at all. It's like a Black Friday if it's on sale and I'm bored and I somehow am snowed in and I can't leave my apartment. And I
You're
live in
snowed
San
in
Francisco,
San
so
Francisco, so it's probably not
yeah,
likely.
so probably not happening.
That's more likely where I live, but it probably still wouldn't
Yeah,
happen for me.
right.
So we talked a little bit about this earlier with Nintendo, but so Sony and Microsoft are talking about crossplay again for Minecraft and Psyonix's Rocket League as well. After Sony essentially already said no before, with a quote that I really enjoyed, so I had to write it down. Quote unquote, exposing what in many cases are children to external influences we have no ability to manage or look after. It's something we have to think about very carefully. So Sony is thinking about the children. I don't really get this.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody on their consoles has children. They're all protecting the children. I mean, first of all, if we're talking about connecting with Nintendo, I don't understand what are you protecting Nintendo? How are you protecting the children from Nintendo players? I don't quite understand. But I think this is just a really weird thing. Super exciting to have the idea of crossplay coming in. I mean, Sea of Thieves just announced
Yeah.
crossplay for between Xbox and PC. We've got Nintendo and Xbox players getting together now. I mean, if we could just add Sony and just add this third leg, we could have, I mean, all major console players playing the same games together. I don't understand how there's a bad thing about that. That's what I've always wanted.
Yeah, I definitely think this decision is out of saltiness, and that's just
I agree.
my honest opinion. I feel like this conversation happened back when Xbox 360 was the leader, and of course Xbox turned them down. Who wouldn't? If you're in the lead,
If you're in the lead,
you're not
you
going
want
to
people
share
to
your
come to
market,
your
right?
console.
Yeah, you're not going to share your customers.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? It doesn't make sense. So, I definitely think it's saltiness, especially since we have Rocket League already, which was kind of pioneering crossplay. You're not you're really not losing anything from. I don't personally believe. I don't know the numbers, but I don't see how you could be losing anything from enabling crossplay on a game like. And they're not even saying it across all games. Like this is Minecraft we're talking about. Like
Yeah.
it's not that big. We're not saying, hey, all the Call of Duty players have to be able to play on all these consoles and all that. Like, I still don't. I wouldn't even think that's personally that big of a deal. But I understand maybe why you don't want that. But Minecraft and Rocket League, I think that those are kind of smaller games that are community driven. Um, it doesn't make sense. I think you're limiting yourself and the content of your game by doing that. But they're clearly doing it because they're in the lead. Like I don't
Yeah.
owe you anything. I don't have to do this. I can still be in the lead without crossplay. And the only one, I guess, in that sense, who loses out is maybe they feel like Microsoft loses because there's Xbox One gamers. There's more PlayStation gamers than Xbox One gamers. I don't really know. But yeah, I don't agree with it. But it's definitely an act of saltiness
Yeah, I mean,
for sure.
it's just the gamers who ultimately lose. I mean, I understand. I get that same kind of saltiness vibe from this too. Like, hey, we're in the lead. We want people to come to Sony if they want to play with Sony players. They should buy a PS4, right? So I get that
Right.
mindset, but it's almost like in reality, like if you think about it, especially if this becomes more widespread, where more and more games are going to be open between like PC Switch and Xbox, if Sony just keeps staying out there on their own little island, eventually people are going to be like, okay, if I want, say I love Minecraft. I want to buy a console so I can play Minecraft. Well, now you're getting the best, Minecraft experience by buying it on a Switch or on an Xbox because you can play with everyone else in the world other than Sony. If you buy a PlayStation 4, you're only being able to play with PS4 people. So I think depending on how much this spreads, this could end up turning like, Sony's kind of like cockiness, like, we don't really need that, to something that would be a drawback for the PlayStation franchise, because if they're the only one who's not willing to play nice, then that just kind of makes them look bad compared to everyone else.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it's definitely something they should. I'm sure they're being very sensitive and watching. And don't play with fire, right? Just like you said, I mean, this could explode into something bigger if it grows bigger than Microsoft. Because the last thing you want to do is alienate your own customers. So,
Yeah. Last thing here for Sony, just a little small one, is Sony, the UK and the European Twitters, not the United States one, went on Twitter to tease something new with an image of like a box under a red curtain in this like really bright room. I don't know what that could be. Some people are like, oh, it's the PS5. And it's like, it's probably not the PS5.
Hell no.
That's not happening.
Hell no.
But, I mean, I don't know, maybe a new bundle, maybe a new game set or something. Not really sure. I'm curious why it would only be the UK and the European Twitter accounts. But interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, something I'll keep watch for.
Yeah,
but
keep an eye out, but
yeah,
nothing
definitely
crazy.
no PS5. I hope no one's asking or hoping for that. We're pretty comfortable in our generation right now. We just got upgraded consoles, or we're still getting upgraded consoles, I guess. I definitely don't see that happening. It's too early. It's too expensive.
Yeah.
It's honestly just too expensive.
And the
There's nothing to
technology's
jump to.
barely there at this point
Yeah,
to really
there's-
make something that is a next level console generation. I mean, like CPU wise and whatnot, that would be able to be put into like a new console for a reasonable price is really not there. So we're not seeing anything.
Yeah,
that's gonna
it's
be
too
pushing us forward.
expensive.
Yeah.
For sure. Like 4K, VR or AR, all that stuff is like, those are rich man's concepts right now. Like
Yeah.
the average consumer is trying to play like Minecraft, Rocket League, 2K, stuff like, they're not trying to play, VR right now. That's why PlayStation's VR is already like $500.
Yeah,
I think
it's insane.
the VR setup, like they're not ready for that. So we're staying on PS4. I say at least like maybe like 4 years from now we might see an upgrade,
Yeah.
or maybe 3 years, maybe even. But
3 or 4 probably.
yeah,
Speaking of 2K, with that perfect transition, so Kyrie Irving trade to the Celtics has officially ruined the NBA 2K18 cover. So the official 2K Sports, the Twitter, I thought this was pretty funny. They just like last month or so, since we were waiting for the new uniforms, the new jerseys to be released, whatever. They just posted the cover showing the new jersey on the cover, saying like, "Oh, hey, we've got Irving on the cover for 2K18 coming out. Super excited, proud to announce." And then just like last week when this came out, they retweeted the same picture and just put, "Oops."
that's funny, man. Yeah, it could be worse. I mean, did they say that the games are in production yet? The actual final the disc cases?
I mean, it comes out in less than a month. I have to assume that they've gone gold at this point.
Yeah, they
It has
probably
to
have.
be. And they said that they will be launching, they'll be fixing it in another version. So I'm assuming that when you go to the store, and pick up that first batch of games, it's going to have Kyrie Irving on the cover in a Cavs jersey.
That nostalgia is gonna hit some fans
Yeah.
deep.
Is that going to be,
I mean,
maybe it'll be a rare edition.
yeah, it's kind of like if you
Oops
remember. If you remember when Brett Favre was on the cover of Madden, and
Yeah,
then
the same thing happened
went to
when
the
he
Jets,
went to
right?
the Jets, yeah,
So
and
he
they
was
photoshopped
still
it.
had that Packers jersey. He still had a Packers jersey when it released.
Yeah.
The first couple copies. So
Yeah, and they changed it later.
it sucks.
They photoshopped his jersey to a Jets jersey. So I'm wondering if we'll be looking at a similar thing here.
I guess it sucks to be like a sports game developer in that sense. Like if your cover star gets traded or something or leaves, like what do you can't control that.
Yeah,
It's
there's a
just
lot that can
or
happen
they,
in the off season.
yeah, I mean they should just be happy that it happened now. I mean, imagine if Kyrie gets traded in like December.
Yeah.
It's like, well, damn, like we have a whole year to game where it's not even as accurate team. Like
Yeah. I thought that was pretty
so,
funny though.
no,
So last thing, so just an interesting kind of piece for the week. So at Gamescom, with the Xbox One X Scorpio Edition being announced and pre-orders being made available, thought we'd have some interesting stuff to talk about here for the Xbox One X. So as of, it's been a week now since they announced it, almost to the exact time, to be honest. So most of them pretty much have all sold out already, though I've been seeing them kind of pop up periodically. But according to Microsoft, the Scorpio Edition was pre-ordered in 5 days, faster and more than any Xbox ever
oh
before.
wow,
So I thought that's pretty interesting. I didn't expect that, to be honest. It seems kind of like
yeah,
it's
definitely
like a
not.
niche kind of console, so I didn't really expect that. But at the same time, I guess the super fans all really, really wanted it day one. Everyone who probably really, really wants an Xbox One X is going to get it on day one, so it does kind of make
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. If anything, like congrats to their marketing team. It shows you how well they did.
Yeah,
The idea of pushing the console as like the Scorpio from the beginning, um, and then attaching a Scorpio edition to
that's
the
pretty
console.
fun.
I
That's a
mean,
cool like
I
nod to the
even
fans.
like I said, even it sounds like I've been bad mouthing Xbox in this episode. It's like even me, I pre-ordered it because I know, like at the end of the day, I still want to like Xbox, and I can't miss out on things. I have that like FOMO, and
So do
the
I.
idea that
I have the
people can
same
have
problem.
like that Project Scorpio edition, and I have the regular edition, like it like irks me to the core. So I mean, and that's again like all salute to their marketing team. Like they did a pretty good job with that Scorpio name. It's a pretty awesome name for a console. I think it comes out in the time of like a Zodiac Scorpio or
Yeah, which
whatever.
is
Like it
interesting.
literally would be in the middle and
The
be a
console's
Scorpio.
birthday is literally makes it a Scorpio.
Yeah, so I think it's awesome. I mean, but it's like for them to have such good numbers, I'm gonna need some output back with
Yeah, absolutely.
the games, right? I'm gonna need some new IP, some exclusive titles. I don't care even if you're what they're doing with like Player Unknown to at least buy like earlier rights to get that on their console.
Yeah.
You're gonna need to keep doing that with some more things. Even if it's not an exclusive, I need to know. I just need to feel like I need to feel important.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and they're actually on the Microsoft on the Xbox platform. They're actually publishing. They're actually paying money and being working as the publisher for PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which I thought was
oh,
really
that's good.
interesting.
That's awesome.
They've still been really coy about whether or not they say, oh yeah, we're just working with Microsoft right now. We're working on it coming out on Xbox. When they first
Yeah.
announced it, they said a console launch exclusive. All those those word games that they play, but they haven't explicitly said that it is coming to PlayStation, so I am interested now that Microsoft is involved in publishing it for the Xbox platform. I'm wondering if at some point this game may just turn into, hey, this is an Xbox game now. Because that could be, I mean, that would be a cool, I mean, that's a popular game. That could turn out to be a good exclusive if that were to happen. But so far, it's still that's really kind of confusing. All the exclusives these days have been really confusing this year. It's just
Yeah,
been,
I think of course people will cry about that because they'll be like, "Oh, PC first, PC master race. This is a
yeah,
PC game." But I do think that's a good thing for all gamers, especially PC. They have more funding, and I mean, if Player Unknown Battlegrounds isn't like necessarily innovative, but they're doing that. I don't even know. I can't remember the terminology. It's like death match or
battle royale.
that like yeah, that battle royale. Sorry, that like battle royale theme. They're doing it really well,
They're
and I
doing
see
it
they're
better
adding like a
than
new
pretty much anyone else. Yeah.
yeah. I see they're adding like a new map to it and things like that. Like so, if Microsoft wants to get behind it, I say go for it. I think this can be one of the next games that you see people play for like years, like one of those like competitive games that just kind of like lingers around for a while.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's only coming to the benefit of PC gamers right now too, because they're well, I swear they need to work on optimizing that game, which is still partially the reason why I can't run it nearly as well as I would like to. But that's good. I mean, that's what people want. We want more maps, or we want bug fixes and more weapons and gear. And if Microsoft has money and they need this,
Yeah, they need
so
something.
they really need it. And I know they were showing. Did you see any like the footage or any details about like uh, PUBG running on Xbox at Gamescom?
I saw that it was running on a PC, I believe, but with like an Xbox controller, but
That's
they had like the settings to a certain way. But I feel like the last thing I saw about it is that when they had it there, it was actually running on a PC. Because
yeah, I'm sure
you know
everyone
how they do
cries
that
about
all the
that, but
time, like when they first
yeah, but
announce games.
it's like people are. I mean, we're in this transition of like consoles where people kind of didn't understand that consoles were PCs in their own way.
Yeah,
So yeah, that doesn't really mean much to me because if the PC has the same specs of a One X, I mean, it's
it's
might as
basically
well be a
running on
One
a One
X.
X. Yeah.
Yeah, so that doesn't mean anything to me. I think that's cool. But yeah, I said that I think that's great. I hope that it's good on Xbox. I know they were trying to get it at 60 frames or something on the Scorpio, which honestly it could only be difficult not because that game is like visually demanding, but because that game they really need to optimize it,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of like really long lines of sight which are like like really hard to render
Yeah,
on
super draw
with your
distances, and I mean,
GPU.
there's 100 people on the one they were playing on Xbox, even just like the PC. There's 100 people in a match. I mean, that's a lot of shit going on at once.
Yeah, but it's I mean, I've only played it a little bit myself, but man, is it fun. Like it's worth it. It's very much worth
Yeah,
it for Microsoft to invest
it's
in
one of
that.
those games that I don't play games on a computer. I don't even have like an actual PC, just like a laptop. But once that comes to Xbox, that is something I'll definitely be interested in checking out.
Yeah,
I'm hoping that it'll
it's a
come with like the $30 early access price tag instead of paying like for a full 60 release for it, because that's
yeah.
kind of what it sounds like so far. So if it's still like that $30 early access type, I'll definitely get in on it and try it out.
I definitely think they are. I don't think they're going. I don't know. I mean, one of the three listeners can correct me on this at some point too, but I definitely don't think they have announced or have a set date for when they're going, like when it's actually going to be a full release of the game.
I think
So
they've
it
only said
should be,
2018, if I am
yeah,
thinking right. I think that's it.
it should be $30.
Yeah,
It should be $30 for sure.
yeah,
And it's a good game. Like it's fun to just hop in. Like it's a competitive game where you don't have to really know. It's not like Overwatch. You don't have to know the meta. As long as you can kind of like aim on a controller, you can hop on that at any time with like a squad or even by yourself. I mean, it's a new game every round, right?
yeah,
You just jump off the helicopter or jump off the plane, start picking up weapons, try to survive. Like I think that's awesome, especially for people who aren't necessarily like 100% committed to like a competitive environment because you can get that competitive feeling in a matter of like 5 minutes. Like 5 minutes into the game, it's already getting crazy. So,
yeah, yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. So for other things to play on the Xbox One X, Aaron Greenberg from Microsoft stated at Gamescom that there's currently 118 titles with Xbox One X enhanced updates, supposedly with more to
It's a
come
lot.
before the launch because people are still working on those, I guess, and then more to come after that. Xbox Live's Major Nelson has a list on his website of all of the titles currently announced, which is kind of cool. So I was taking a look through that. And I mean, this is cool. This is exciting. So I own a lot of these titles, and a lot of these are games that either are in my backlog that I need to go back and finish or go back and play, or games that I just have been looking for a reason to go back and just start over and just play again. Like The Witcher 3, I've been looking to go back to that one. That's getting an update.
I should go back and beat it for the first time.
Exactly. Yeah. This will be a good time as any, right?
Right.
Skyrim Skyrim Special Edition. I've been meaning to just kind of hop back in and play some more of that, and that's getting an enhanced update. Dishonored 2, still haven't beat that. Rise of the Tomb Raider, I wanted to go back in and play, and I mean, this is cool. It's nice to know
You
that
know
some of the games that we
what
have will
was
already be better, right?
you know what was surprising though? I just saw this too. They actually removed Doom from the list of
I
enhanced
heard
games
that
though.
too. I don't know why. I wonder.
That's weird to me. Especially Doom is, I mean, a pretty big. It's a pretty big deal. It was a very successful. I don't know. I just assumed, especially how good Doom looks. I assumed that would just naturally get that upgrade. But I also don't believe it has a PS4 Pro upgrade either.
I'm
Yeah,
wondering if
I
maybe
think
they just took it off temporarily so they can have something more formal to announce, or if they are just saying, no, we're not doing it. I mean, Bethesda's
yeah, I
got
definitely think
Wolfenstein 2 coming. That'll have an enhanced update. Supposedly, Evil Within 2 also will. So, I mean, they run on the same. I know Wolfenstein 2 and Doom run on the same engine now. So I'm
yeah,
not
I,
sure
I think
why they'd
I
be
think
skipping that.
Bethesda has figured it out. I think they figured out the fact that they are really good at making games and they don't have to like output. I think they know that they can make more than the standard 60 or even that DLC on a game, and they can re-release it multiple times
Yeah,
because there is that Doom VR coming out.
that's true.
So a little bit of me is believing, okay, maybe they're just putting all their resources towards, doing Doom VR and Skyrim VR,
Yeah,
and that's
maybe.
why we're not seeing these upgraded games. And then like when these VR games come out, like Fallout 4 VR, it comes out at $60 again. It's you have to rebuy it
Yeah.
completely. So I believe that they're probably doing something similar with Doom. And Doom VR looks pretty awesome, but again, I don't have VR, so it kind of sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have VR right now, and I'm not particularly interested in VR at this
Yeah.
juncture. I mean, at some point, but right now, I'm not super into it. Maybe one day. I was just hanging out with a friend the other day who has um, an Oculus Rift set up on his
Hmm.
PC, and I mean, he was telling me about some of the games that he's been playing, and he said some of them are, I mean, pretty awesome. One of them is almost like a Rocket League kind of like arena soccer type of game. I can't remember what the name of the
Yeah,
game
I know
is,
exactly what he's talking
but
about.
he
I don't
said
know what
that
the
one's
game is
super
called, but it's really
fun.
good.
He makes like he does a bunch of like visual like painting and art and stuff in his VR and like a lot of cool stuff. It's just not for me yet. Maybe one day.
Yeah, I mean, from my own uses of VR, it's definitely fun. I don't know how I feel about playing like shooters and things like that on it.
I mean, playing
But
a
I would
full
like to
game
try
of
out Doom.
Fallout in VR, that seems like way too much. That's a
Yeah,
long
it
game.
seems it's just yeah, it's long. I honestly I know they're taking analytics and stuff like that, and I would love to see like the drop off point when people are playing that game. Like where do you just like I can't do it anymore?
Yeah, right. Like where you're
And
just like,
but
okay, I'm done with this.
I really do not believe that you do a full playthrough with side quests and everything. I don't even believe you get through main story on VR. That's a lot.
I feel like that's
At
more of
some
like a
point you just
novelty thing, if anything. Like, oh, look,
yeah.
I'm running around in VR. Okay, I'd rather just play this like a normal Fallout now.
Well, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure even the Doom VR isn't the full Doom game. It's
Yeah,
kind of
Doom
like
VR
compressed.
is a smaller
Yeah.
like bite-sized game, but supposedly Fallout 4 and Skyrim VR are the full game. Doom VR
I don't see how
is
you
like a
can
tailored experience. So
I
I could
don't see how you
understand the
can do
Doom
that.
VR, but playing Skyrim in all VR, it's like I don't know about that.
Honestly, I mean, maybe this is exposing me, but like I don't know. Fallout has some like kind of eerie, like thriller, scary moments where like you're just walking through a building or something and you don't really notice someone's in a room, and you like
Yeah,
walk in a room and you're like, oh shit, like I don't know if I want to feel that in VR all the
me
time.
neither, to
I
be
feel
honest.
like there's gonna be some like PTSD or something. Like
I mean,
I don't know.
Resident Evil 7 in VR was supposedly like horrifying, like super
Yeah, I couldn't
terrifying,
imagine.
and like
I played that. Yeah, no.
the motion sickness and everything all combined would like make people sick and like make people throw up because it's like such intense like visuals and everything's like super bloody and crazy in that game. I was like, man, I couldn't imagine
Yeah.
playing that in VR. Like I'd probably pass out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the tough part about VR, right? It's like you can easily make your players sick. Like even the smallest things. I was like watching a documentary or something, or watching some little like video about like even like the UI and like if you can't really like tell people where to look and stuff like that or like force people to look a certain way like it makes you sick. Like it's not like Call of Duty when you like walk in a room and like someone can grab you and your camera turns around. If you do that in VR you get sick because you feel like someone's like you're moving but you're not
But your
moving.
body's not. It's
Like
the same thing with
yeah, it's like
just
you're
movement alone is really complicated in
yeah.
VR. Just being able to like have a like I mean a lot of games do like the teleportation moving where you just kind of aim at a spot and you teleport there. But
Right.
like walking around when you are sitting on a couch or when you're standing in place and your brain looking into this thing thinks that you're walking is like really really like trippy for your mind. So like I don't know how that stuff is supposed to
Yeah,
feel, but I
I
feel like it's got
don't
to be weird.
it has to be, and it's tough. So I guess they're probably a lot more reliant on like game noises and sounds. Like an enemy just has to come in and scream behind you or something because they can't turn you around. You'll throw up at some point. So you have to just make ways or like some type of indicator. I don't know. But I mean, back to the point, I don't know. I definitely don't think I could play through Skyrim or Fallout VR. It would be fun to show friends for a little bit. Like if I already had a character that was like kind of built, so I can just show them like a little hour demo of it. But I could not play through that game. Those are very long, very, very long games.
Yeah, just too much.
Yeah.
So last thing here. So something interesting I was reading on Eurogamer. They have, I believe Eurogamer and Digital Foundry, I think they're connected in some way. I'm not really sure. But Digital Foundry, who is essentially like, the leader of like tech analysis and whatnot for video games, they detailed some of those enhanced titles at Gamescom. So some of the games they spent some time with on the Xbox One X, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Quantum Break, Gears of War 4, Path of Exile, Titanfall 2, Killer Instinct, Shadow of Mordor, and then Assassin's Creed Origins. So I just thought this was kind of interesting because I know a lot of people, myself included, like you said, I did pre-order a Scorpio edition because I too can't miss out on literally anything. I have to like, oh, well, if somebody else has that Scorpio edition and I just have a plain one, I'm going to feel like a jamoke. So I got to get the special one. So
yeah, I feel you, man.
Yeah. So I feel like everybody's kind of been curious, like, what are we really going to get out of these enhanced titles, or what are we really going to get out of these new games when they say that they're enhanced on Xbox One or running at 4K. So I thought this was kind of interesting, some of these games. Some of these older ones, so like Killer Instinct, which I didn't actually know this, but apparently it launched at only 720p, and then it was updated later to 900p. Now that runs at a full native 4K, which not a super demanding game, but that's still pretty cool. That's, over 4 times
it'll
the
look nice.
resolution.
The particles will look nice when you're punching people in the face and stuff.
Yeah, that'll look pretty great. Quantum Break. So this one, 720p title, but it had a unique like upscaling.
Really?
Yeah, it was only 720p apparently. I didn't know this either, but it had a really unique like upscaling, kind of almost like a checkerboarding, kind of how I guess they would take. I don't remember what the term is, but they would essentially take like the image on the screen and then use that image in the next image, but like enhance it some really, really technical way that it did it that still made it look, when you watch gameplay videos, it looks pretty great. But I had no idea that it was only running at 720 and then doing all that to upscale. So now that apparently runs at 1080 using those same techniques to boost it up to 4K. So that's,
yeah,
all right,
that's
I guess.
all. Yeah, I get. I'll have to play it, but I guess I'm still stuck. I really did not know that it was 720p.
Yeah, right. It's
like I was kind of like, it's kind of surprised about that.
Titanfall 2 runs at a variable frame rate, which goes at levels above and below native 4K, depending on kind of what you're doing. I remember at one point, an article a while back, they said that at one point on the Xbox One X, it was running up to 6K, but I'm sure that's, they're probably looking at a wall doing nothing, and it's hitting 6K. You know what I mean? I'm sure they're not doing anything when it's doing that, but that's cool. Supposedly higher than the PS4 Pro, which has I think its enhanced mode is at 1440p, I believe is what I saw, but below the PC, of course.
Makes sense.
Then, yeah, it makes sense, right? And then, so Gears of War. Did you play Gears of War 4?
Yeah, I did.
Was it good? I never played it. It's the only one I haven't
I think
played.
the story was a little weird. I can't really. I to give my opinion, I'd have to spoil it, but I think it was okay. It's definitely not the best Gears in the series, but it's okay to have like a next generation Gears of War. I think the multiplayer is pretty fun.
Okay.
I think it's still pretty awesome, and it looks really good. So I know it should look amazing in 4K.
Yeah, so supposedly this will run in native 4K at 30 frames per second. It'll have some extra effects and some extra assets and whatnot from the PC. They called Gears of War 4 an Unreal Engine 4 masterpiece. So that's a pretty good way to describe it.
Strong words.
Yeah, right. Yeah, strong words from Digital Foundry. And then, so 2 new games, Assassin's Creed Origins will run at, I think they've announced this multiple times, at a checkerboard 4K, which supposedly looks pretty good. Shadow of War at a native 4K. Both will be at 30 frames. And then they're doing a more detailed hands-on with both of those. That sounds cool. I'm definitely interested in both Assassin's Creed Origins and Shadow of War. I loved Shadow of Mordor, and I've always loved Assassin's Creed. I'll probably be waiting for reviews. I won't probably buy them on day one, but I am still excited for both of those games.
Really? You're not buying Shadow of War day one?
I don't know. That's the one.
That's surprising. I know you, out of all people, loved that game.
I really love the first one. I've been thinking about it. All the gameplay, it looks good, but I just feel like I haven't ever seen enough. Because every time they show something, they're always showing the same thing. They're always showing taking a fortress, which I get that's an important part of the game. But I feel like I just haven't seen enough of the game. Like they haven't really shown any like story missions or like anything interesting other than just taking different fortresses. And then they had the whole microtransactions thing. So I'm curious at what effect that's going to have on the game. Hopefully not much. But I've been thinking, when the Xbox One X, when I get the Xbox One X, I want to have a game that can do native 4K that I can just pop in on the day it comes out and play it and look at it and be like, okay, this looks great. And I've been trying to think about which one it's going to be, and it might be Shadow of War. So I may not even get it until I get the One X. Right? But I want to get one. I don't want to like plug in my Xbox One X and then the first game I play is like a game that's just running on normal settings and be like, okay, well this looks the same. I want to have that, that pure moment.
That's why. Like this One X release is just tough. Like I don't know, it's awkward to like
because nothing comes out on that day anymore. Like you got to buy something before or buy something the day on or buy something after. It's such a weird.
Forza come out in like a month or something. Like it's like it's awkward because it's like you have to wait. It's like especially even if you're just into Forza, which if I get the console, I definitely probably will buy a Forza because I haven't had it in a while.
60, right?
Yeah, and I just have to see it. But then I get in that predicament where it's like if I'm just like itching to play Forza and it's out already, do I buy it or do I wait until the One X or something? I mean, I wait personally, but it's awkward. There's nothing. It just sucks to not have anything new to like come home with the night of.
Yeah, like that, like a brand new release that day. And I mean, in all honesty, Crackdown 3 wasn't the most exciting thing to come home with that day.
It already was not. Yeah,
it was already not that exciting, but it'd be nicer if there was at least something to go, I'm going to go pick up my Xbox One X. I'm going to pick up this brand new Xbox game that I'm super excited about that comes out on the same day, come home, open them both up, and get it running. But we don't have that.
Yeah, honestly, if I'm Microsoft, I probably push back Gears 4 last year. I pushed back Gears 4 to One X release. I don't think it was. I mean, just looking back, I don't know if it was the best idea to do it, especially because a year before that they had already released that Gears of War Ultimate Edition, which is like the first one remastered.
And didn't they do? Honestly, did they do Halo 5 and Gears 4 in the same year?
Or different
were they
so
one,
Halo 5,
year apart, right?
Halo 4 was 2015, I believe. Gears 4 was 2016. But it's like, or Halo 5, sorry. 5. It's all these numbers. It's ridiculous.
There's too many of them. They need some new games. Okay, I love Halo.
I don't know.
I don't need 12 Halo games.
Yeah, for sure. I know that maybe makes last Christmas is like Xbox lineup not that great if you take Gears out.
Yeah.
But I think I bite that bullet and I have
certainly
Gears 4
better
as
than
a
this
1X.
year's.
Yeah, I think Gears 4 as a 1X title would have just been mind-blowing to see it, like to immediately see the game in 4K, like from the first instance, like that would have been crazy.
Yeah, that would have been nuts.
And I don't think they needed to do it. Like they already had just released an Ultimate Edition of Gears 1, which I thought was really good. At worst, you could have just remastered another one. I mean, that's what everyone else does, right? So you could have remastered Gears 3 or something. I don't know. But I think it was an interesting decision. And it sucks because I really would have been excited to come home on Xbox One X night with a brand new Gears 4. Now, that's something I want to take a day off work for, But as of now, I'm like, I'm buying the console. I might get home with the console. I might not even open it right away because it's like, oh, well, you know how games come out and certain games change your priorities, Like if you really want this game, you're like, all right, let me push back this dinner plan or let me say, let my girlfriend know now that I'm not going to be disturbed tonight or something. What I mean? Like I don't have that urge anymore with the One X now because it's like if the One X ships and it's like I open it, cool. But it's like if I still have to go to dinner or I have friends or a girlfriend, I have to do something. Like I'm still gonna do that something because there's nothing
Yeah.
like I'm not. I have no sense of FOMO once I have the console. Like now I'm all caught up. There's nothing I'm missing out on. So
Yeah.
that sucks, but I
Yeah.
guess
Oh well.
that's how it's gonna be.
Last thing, Rise of the Tomb Raider. So a game, like I say, and I'm actually kind of excited to go back to this.
Yeah, you love Tomb
Really,
Raider,
really,
right?
really good. Yeah, I've been playing Tomb Raider since like the first game. Really, really exciting. Um, have you played this one yet?
I have not. I have not. So I mean, I guess technically, in that sense, I have a launch title.
Yeah, there you go. So this was probably the most interesting and the most exciting enhanced title, just based on kind of what they're doing here. So rather than just kind of making, it's up to the developers to decide how they want to handle the enhancement patches. Rather than just going with one option of 4K, native 4K or whatever they might do, they actually have three options on this game. So it's going to have a checkerboard 4K mode with enhanced textures and effects from the PC, and that will run at 30 frames. And then there's a native 4K mode that runs at 30 frames per second, but it doesn't have as many of the enhanced textures and whatnot, I guess. And then there's an enhanced frame rate mode that'll run at 1080, but it'll run at 60 frames. So
Yeah,
they
I like that.
P-
I like that idea.
yeah, I like that idea, right? So the PS4 Pro has two modes. It has the 1080 the frame rate mode, 1080p, 60 frames, and they have the checkerboard mode at 4K 30. So we're getting the native 4K mode, which is exciting, I guess. But really, I'm just kind of excited that you can choose. So you can have extra effects, or you can have higher frame rate, or you can have just the native 4K if you really want to go all in on that. But it's nice to like be able to choose, because I mean a lot of games are way better for having the option for 60 frames per second, and with the
Yeah.
ability to kind of push one way or the other, I hope that more developers kind of go into that and give you the choice.
Yeah, I hope that just take notes. I mean, PC's been doing this forever, right?
Yeah, right,
So
exactly.
it's like if I play Player Unknown on on my Xbox One X and it visually looks amazing, but like I have stutters or that dropping under 60 FPS, like give me an option to just play 60 FPS. Like I sometimes I do just want a smooth game. Like I don't want to have the last thing you want is some frame drops, and especially like in multiplayer games and things like that. So I hope a lot more developers make sure to have that option, because it's great to look at beautiful games, but not everyone's buying a stronger console just to look at beautiful games. They mostly just want their games to run well.
Yeah,
So
and not everyone has the 4K TVs or
yeah,
whatever to
that's the thing. I
see
don't even
this.
have a 4K TV myself
Yeah,
yet. I'm
I don't
hoping with
yet.
Black
No,
Friday I can kind of like
same.
squeeze a deal out of somewhere. But as of now, like the games look great, but I can't fully enjoy it yet. So if I could choose like a locked 60 frames, I'm probably taking that right now.
Yeah, that's a good. I like that option. It's a good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else to add before we wrap up today's podcast, Fonzie?
Not much. I would just add super excited about Dragon Ball Fighter Z still.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, the only thing I will add, have you had a chance to look at any like the Marvel versus Capcom? Um
I saw that they. I saw the initial Dante and Chun Li designs that looked horrible, but I see
the
that they've
ones that
gone back and they've at least fixed Chun Li. I don't know about
yeah.
Dante yet, but
Yeah, like I
that's
said,
good at least, because it looked really bad. It was
it
not
was
good.
so bad. Being a Marvel versus Capcom fan, like I'm super conflicted because I have to wait till like next February for Dragon Ball Z anyways. So I'm like in my head I'm starting to reason the purchase because I'm like, this comes out in September and I just need it right now. I need it. I need
Yeah. Right.
something to hold me
Yeah. I
over.
need
But
it. Yeah. I need it.
this is how there's like it's genius in a way. It's like they're putting out a subpar game in a time where you have nothing to compare it to. So it's like
Yeah.
it's
Right. There's not really
realistically
a lot
will
of other fighting
if
things going
if
on.
you're a fighting game fan, you will break. You will. I don't believe you can hold out until February or something. There's nothing else really to play unless you're playing like Injustice 2, but you've already had that for a while now.
Yeah. That's been
So,
out for a little while.
but yeah, I just think it's interesting. I was just bringing up it's an interesting point that Dragon Ball has kind of came out of nowhere. No one knew anything about it, and now like all the attention is taken away from Marvel versus Capcom. And I mean, of course, it's been interesting too. if you saw like the Reddit post about the intern saying that like Disney told Capcom to make the Capcom characters art worse, and they're trying to sell,
Really?
yeah, they're trying to sell like Disney. They're trying to sell the Disney characters, right? So yeah, it's been a mess. It's been a mess. But after all that stuff kind of went public, they've been trying to clean it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the
Which
same
is
time,
good.
at the same time, you can tell it's definitely heavily marketed towards like the Marvel universe as of now, like in the movies. We don't see a lot of the great characters that we used to see are gone. There's no like Magneto, well, no X-Men characters at all right now.
No X-Men at all is what I hear. Yeah. I
No
mean, that's
X-Men
like
at all, which is
Fox is like a nightmare for licensing and stuff.
yeah, but no X-Men at all in a Marvel versus Capcom game is like it's like going to Chipotle and it's like you skip rice and beans. It's just kind of weird. Like they're super important. Like those are always the character. Those are probably the most popular characters, especially competitively. So it's kind of weird. But yeah, like I said, just wanted to touch on that. It's crazy how I'm such a big Marvel versus Capcom fan, and it's like I'm like geeking out about Dragon Ball Z, but I don't really have that for Marvel right now. But
Yeah.
knowing me, on a later podcast, I'll probably be reviewing it. So
Yeah.
because
I'm
I
sure
fucking
you'll
bought
have some
it,
thoughts on it.
I know I'm gonna buy it. So
Sometimes you just can't fight it, you know?
I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it for me. What about anything else for you, man?
Nothing else for me. Just still trying to work through my backlog. Been playing, trying to finish the Metro 2033 Redux, which is good. Then I've been playing a bunch of Bayonetta, which is just hilariously awesome. That's a great game. But yeah, nothing else too crazy. I'm excited for, not too much, I guess, this next month, but I'm excited for in October. We've got Super Mario Odyssey.
Yes.
Excited to see how Assassin's Creed does, and then see where we go with Shadow of War and all that. So we've got a pretty good fall coming up. So I'm definitely excited.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm excited too.
The Pixelated Podcast is the official podcast of video game website pixelatedgaming.com, hosted by me and my co-host Alphonso Crawford. You can find us on podcast services like Apple Podcasts and Google Play, where you can leave us a review if you've enjoyed the show. And be sure to check out our website for all of our additional content. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.